Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In in here, I will present about situational and socio-cultural context in speaking and listening. The decision that people make about their speaking and listening will vary according to the context. These decisions are influenced by the following. The first is the situation or setting in which the speaking and listening takes place. For example, who speak at assembly, when to speak and when not to speak at the movies, when to speak and when not to speak when there are visitors at home. The second is the purpose of the speaking and listening. For example, taking someone, asking someone for help, discussing a book, or delivering a lecture. The third is the rules and relationship between speaker and listener. For example, family and friend, teacher, principal, sub assistant, doctor, and police officer. There are many socio-cultural factors that influence the composition and comprehension of spoken text. And the first, the way that people use spoken language reflects and shapes their view of the world. Next, speaker and listener are strongly influenced by their gender, ethnicity, and status. Next, spoken language is used to establish relationship and group identity. Next, there are many different varieties of English around the world, including varieties of standard English. Each vary reflect and shapes socio-cultural attitude and assumption. Next, spoken text can be crafted and manipulated to influence others. This is often done to maintain or challenge existing power relationship between groups such as governing bodies and citizens, business and consumer, employers and employers. The social and cultural background of language user will influence their speaking and listening choice. Elements such as ethnicity, gender, age, education, and social class all contribute to the way that we use and interpret spoken text. Speakers may assume that listeners share their cultural knowledge and values. Teachers should influence students in collecting stories about situations where shared cultural 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 uh, knowledge and values were assumed, but which result in misunderstanding. A person's social and cultural background influence the choice they make when speaking and listening. Elements such as ethnicity, gender, education, and social class contribute to the way that use and interpret spoken text depending on the speaking and listening context. This element can place people in a position of status and power or cause them to the significantly disadvantage. Example, an indigenous student might not be aware of the conversation of standard Australian English conversation within a school context. Their reluctance to make a context or to contribute answer to some types of question may lead to them being considered not competent as a language user. A socio-cultural context refers to the idea that language, rather than existing in isolation is closely linked to the culture and society in which it is used. This means when language is learned, the socio-cultural context in which it used need to be taken into consideration as well. For example, uh, learners are looking at the language or at first advertisement. In order to do this effectively, they need to understand the culture in which the adverts function in the classroom activities, and that can raise awareness of socio-cultural contexts, include using stories, analyzing newspaper headlines, and looking at slang and idiomatic language. Okay, I think enough. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.